राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरवनचारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashya Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakta Bhavati Nashraki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone for today morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, chapter number 8, text number 13 to text number 16 today. Text number 13. Soham vikattamanasya Shirakaya dharamite Gopayeta haristvatya Yaste sharanam ipshitam. Soham vikattamanasya Shirakaya dharamite Gopayeta haristvatya Yaste sharanam ipshitam. Soham vikattamanasya Shirakaya dharamite Gopayet haristvatya Yaste sharanam ipshitam. Soham vikattamanasya Shirakaya dharamite Gopayet haristvatya Yaste sharanam ipshitam. Soham vikattamanasya Shirakaya dharamite Gopayeta haristvatya. Mothers. Soham vikattamanasya Shirakaya dharamite Gopayeta haristvatya Yaste sharanam ipshitam. What word? Saha, he. aham I vikattamanasya. Who was speaking such nonsense? Shiraha, the head. Kaya, from the body. Harami, I shall take away. Te, of you. Gopayeta, let him protect. Harihi, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tva, you. Adya, now. Yaha, he who. Te, your. Sharanam, protector. Ipshitam, desired. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipable God come to protect you. I want to see it. Purport. Demons always think that the God of the devotees is fictitious. They think that there is no God and that the so-called religious feeling of devotion to God is but an opiate, a kind of illusion. Like the illusions derived from LSD and opium. Hiranyakashipu did not believe Prahlad Maharaj when Prahlad asserted that his Lord is present everywhere, because Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, was convinced that there is no God and that no one could protect Prahlad. He felt encouraged to kill his son. He challenged the idea that the devotee is always protected by the Supreme Lord. So we have to read 14, 15, 16 also. So I'll read recite the verse and read the translation. Evam durakte muardayan rusha sutam mahabhagavatam mahasuraha khadgam pragaryo utpatito varasanat stambham tatar atibala swamushtina. Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu was very great in bodily strength, thus chastised his exalted devotee son Prahlad with harsh words. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up his sword, got up from his royal throne, and with great anger struck his fist against the column. Text number 15. Tadeva tasmin ninado ati bhishano 𝗣𝗿𝗯 kathaham asputat yam vai swadishno yupagatam ta ajadayah Shutva swadhamatyam angamenire atyayam. Then from within the pillar came a fearful sound, which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. O my dear Yudhishthira, this sound reached even the abodes of the Devatas like Lord Brahma. And when the Devatas heard it, they thought, oh, now our planets are being destroyed. Purport. As we sometimes become very much afraid at the sound of thunderbolt, perhaps thinking that our houses will be destroyed, the great Devatas like Lord Brahma feared that thundering sound that came from the pillar in front of Hiranyakashipu. And text number 16. Savikraman putravadhes purochasa nishamya nirharadam apurvam adbhutam antha sabhayam nadadasya tatpadam vitat Rasuryena surari yutpaha. While showing his extraordinary prowess, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful tumultuous sound which had never been heard before. Upon hearing the sound, the leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of the sound in the assembly. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.8, Krishna says, Rasoham 𝗍𝗂𝗓𝗍 prabhashmi shashisuryayo pranavas sarva vedeshu shabdake paurusham nashu. O son of Kunti, Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun, the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Here the Lord exhibited his presence everywhere by the tumultuous sound in the sky. Shabdake. The tumultuous thundering sound was proof of the Lord's presence. The demons like Hiranyakashipu could now realize the supreme ruling power of the Lord. And thus Hiranyakashipu became afraid. However powerful a man may be, He always fears the sound of thunderbolts. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu and all the demons who were his associates were extremely afraid because of the presence of the Supreme Lord in the form of sound, although they could not trace out the source of the sound. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshunyavadi Pashatadi Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautuse Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gau Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone once again for today's morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We are reading from Canto 7, chapter number 8, verses 13 to 16. Before I begin to share anything, I seek blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, in particular of the senior devotees sitting here. I can speak on this subject matter, which is almost like the climax of the story. Just a verse before the climax. Abhi धुआं निकल गया है, but character bahar aana reh gaya hai. So until this verse, what we're reading today, so you kind of imagine, we all have seen those dramas of Narasimhadev. And the pillar breaks apart, the roaring sound comes, and everyone is at the edge of the city. Kaun nikla, kaun nikla. So that will be discussed tomorrow, what will happen. However, I'll just read out the quick translation of these verses again. So we are focused on what we are discussing. 13th verse. Because you are speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipful God come to protect you. I want to see it. This is spoken by Hiranyakashipu. 14th. Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu was very great in bodily strength. Chastised his exalted devotee son 𝗍𝗱 with harsh words. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up his sword, got up from his royal throne, and with great anger struck his fist against the column, the pillar. Text 15. Then from the pillar came a fearful sound, which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. O my dear Yudhishthira, the sound reached even the abodes of the Devtas like Lord Brahma. And when Devtas heard it, they thought, oh, now our planets are being destroyed. Text number 16. While showing his extraordinary prowess, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful tumultuous sound which had never been heard before. Upon hearing the sound, the other leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of that sound in the assembly. So during the last Narasimha Chaturdashi function or the celebration, His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj was giving the lecture, and I was hearing to that lecture, and that Maharaj was saying, once he, along with His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj, was visiting Africa, and they decided, why don't we go for a safari? We'd like to take darshan of the lion, just to remember Lord Narasimhadev, how Lord Narasimhadev would have looked like. So Maharaj, in his own funny way of presentation, I won't be able to do justice, but I'll just try to share. So Maharaj said, we sat in the car, we went for the safari, and finally we reached to the point where there were the lionesses and the lion. It was a daytime and everyone was sleeping. During the lions, they hunt in the night time, and daytime they sleep. Particularly lion, it sleeps almost as close to 20 hours. Now Maharaj was saying, you know what? I came all the way to Africa, I'm here in safari, and the lion is sleeping. How would I experience that Lord Narasimhadev's mood here? So Maharaj said, I rolled down my window. I had kartal in my hand. I took out the kartal outside the car's window, and I just kind of banged it very loudly. You know, like, and suddenly, you know, particularly animals, they don't like sound. Despite the fact they may make all the sound, but they don't like sound at all. They like peace. And immediately lion woke up. And then Maharaj, in his own animated way, he said, he immediately followed the sound and he saw me. His eyes were set on me. And Maharaj said, the eyes of the lions are so frightening and so piercing. I literally froze in my seat where I was sitting in the car. The lion didn't do that much. He was so angry, he roared. Now, just to help you understand, because we're talking about the sound here, it kind of cracked the whole universe. It is what is up here. Let me tell you what's the sound. The sound of a lion is almost equivalent to 114 decibels, which means if you're attending a rock concert, the tumultuous sound coming from the speaker is what the sound of the lion looks like. You know, and how long, for how much distance the sound of the roaring of the lion goes? Even up to a distance of 8 kilometers, 5 miles, the person can hear the sound of a roaring of a lion. What to speak about if you're just 3 meters away from the lion? Can you imagine what kind of a frightening experience for Maharaj would be? Maharaj said, I kind of froze, I didn't know what to do. And the lion came up towards the car. And he roared and he began to shake the car. Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj was sitting next to me saying, Maharaj, roll over the window, close the window. And he said, I was just stuck, I didn't know what to do. And Maharaj is pushing me, Hare, close the window, the lion is there on the window. And Maharaj said, I just didn't know what to do, I was so fearful. And Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj realizing that nothing is happening, he told the driver, you have to take the car away, otherwise lion is going to open the door. And finally they had a good car, as per Maharaj said, and the car drove away. When I was sitting in the assembly listening to this, I was thinking, wow, how nice would be if I could also get that experience. 2 weeks later, I was in Nairobi and we had a day out. So the devotee community decided, let's go for safari. So in Africa, the famous safari is in Nairobi. They have a Nairobi National Park. It's very famous. All this, I was told by later on, all this Net Geo, all those shows which happen on safari, that happens on Nairobi National Park. So I was like, oh, I also want to see the lion. You know, I've just heard it. I have not experienced it. Now what I'm sharing is from my experience. So we drove for a few hours. We didn't find lion only. And I was like, no, I didn't waste my couple of hours. I told our guide, I said, I want to see the lion. You keep driving. We are not going back until you see the lion. And the park is almost more than 1,200 kilometers long. You know, that's a park. Finally, after 3-4 hours of moving around the safari, we finally found the lion. And there was a lion, there was a lioness here, and there were a couple of cars surrounding them. He was not looking at anyone. I was like, I want to see, you know, because I read these verses, you know, when the lion looks in the eyes. It just so happened, somebody from another car, there were many Westerners there, somebody had this horn, you know, somebody blew the horn. And the lion got agitated. He got up and he roared. And this is my personal experience. The lion was almost this much distance as a pillar. When he roared, literally the whole earth shook. Everyone, whoever they were, they literally froze in their seat. They couldn't move. And the devotee sitting next to me, he told me, "Arey, khidki khol. I said, why? मुझे photo खींचनी है. मैं तो पागल है क्या? वो गुस्सा हो चुका है. He's roaring now. You want to? And he was pushing me. Open the window. I said, I am moving out of the window. You come and sit here. And I remember that point of time, the lion was looking at all those cars around. The moment he looked, immediately cars started moving. We began to disperse. I remember I looking at him, or he looking at me. This verse is what he's talking about. The gaze of a lion is very terrifying. It's extremely piercing. I'm just talking about the lion, the experience of the lion. Imagine when this verse is talking about the Lord Nrsimhadev. So when the verses are talking about here, when the Lord roared, the Devatas up to the Brahmaloka, their throne was unsettled, as if the whole planets have cracked. Is not actually an exaggeration, is actually a fact. Because the roaring of the Lord is extremely loud and extremely fearful. And so much so, just the 15th was talked about, that how much Hiranyakashipu got scared. And not only Hiranyakashipu got scared, even the other demons in the assembly, when they heard the sound, even they got scared and terrified. But during this particular incident, when the pillar broke and the Lord is about to come in the next verse, the sound came, everyone was terrified. Something very amazing and something very incredible happened. Any clue what happened at this point of time in the story what we're reading? Something very amazing happened. Everyone was terrified, except for a 5-year-old boy, Prahlad Maharaj. He was not terrified at all. He was not fearful at all. So I was just wondering what Prabhupada would have said about it. And I came across a letter that Srila Prabhupada had written back in 13 January 1968. Prabhupada talking about this incident. He wrote a letter to Mother Jadurani and he explains. I'll just read out. Prabhupada said, when Prahlad Maharaj saw Lord Nrsimhadev, he was not at all afraid of this fearsome feature of the Lord. You remember? Maharaj was afraid. All of us were afraid. Everyone was afraid. Here a 5-year-old boy is not afraid, huh? The big jaws and nails of Lord Nrsimhadev and the fiery tongue of the Lord and the gigantic lion's head did not create any fearsome havoc before Prahlad Maharaj. One devotee was telling me, the lion is so ferocious, he has all these hairs, that's how you recognize him. Up to a couple of meters, you can feel his breathing. When he breathes in and breathes out, up to a couple of meters, you can feel that. Which means you can't be in his certain circumference. He's so frightening. And here we have Lord Nrsimhadev, frightened everyone, but Prahlad is not. And Prabhupada says, rather, Prahlad Maharaj said to the Lord, my dear Lord, I am not afraid of this your fearsome feature. When he said, I'm not afraid of this, which means he's afraid of something. That's the reason he's putting the statement like this. So 5-year-old boy is not afraid of Lord Nrsimhadev. What could he be afraid of? And when I was reading it, I realized I was afraid of the lion, but I'm not afraid of what I should be afraid of, what Prahlad is afraid of. Prahlad said, my dear Lord, I'm not afraid of this your fearsome feature, but I am afraid of the repeated cycle of birth and death in material existence. It hardly crosses my mind ever. That instruction, Prabhupada writes, is very valuable. In our material existence, we are always in a danger. Padam padam yatapadam natesham. And fearful condition. But by the spell of Maya, we just do not take it seriously. So this is about Prahlad Maharaj. Then Prabhupada writes elsewhere. This is from his purport. 7th Canto 9th chapter verse number 2. A very beautiful point he talks about. Not only the Asuras were fearful, even Devatas were fearful. Not even Devatas alone were fearful. Even Mother Lakshmi was fearful. Prabhupada writes, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi ji, was requested to go before the Lord by all the Devatas present, who because of fear could not do so. Even Mother Lakshmi was fearful. But even she had never seen such a wonderful and extraordinary form of the Lord. And thus she could not approach him. Brahma says, Lord have unlimited forms. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. They all are situated in Vaikuntha. But Mother Lakshmi, under the influence of the Leela Shakti, could not appreciate that unprecedented form of the Lord as Nrsimhadev. Prabhupada writes further, the point I'm trying to bring here is, Prahlad Maharaj was not fearful. Everyone was fearful. We read about demons, but even Devatas and Mother Lakshmi was fearful. The question is, how Prahlad was not fearful? And Prabhupada answers that. I'm just coming to the direct point. I'm skipping the part of the puppet. In other words, for the common man, the form of the Lord as Nrsimhadev is certainly unseen and wonderful. But for a devotee like Prahlad Maharaj, such a fearsome form of the Lord is not at all extraordinary. And why it was not extraordinary, why it was not fearful? Prabhupada writes, by the grace of the Lord, a devotee can very easily understand how the Lord can appear in any form he likes. Therefore, the devotee is never afraid of such a form. So how Parikshit Maharaj was not afraid? Because of the special favor bestowed upon Prahlad Maharaj. He remained silent and unafraid, even though all the Devatas, including Lakshmi, were afraid of Lord Nrsimha. Prabhupada's purport to 7th Canto, 9th chapter, verse number 2. So this leads to a question. How did Prahlad Maharaj have this great fortune of developing or receiving such a special favor from the Lord? What did he do? He was just a 5-year-old boy. What did he actually do in in just a small span of 5 years, because of which he received such a favor? In fact, what the question I'm raising is a question asked by Prahlad Maharaj to Nrsimhadev himself. And he says, my dear Lord, how is it that I have attained such a level of bhakti for you? And this is from Nrsimha Puran, a conversation between Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsimhadev. At that point of time, Lord Nrsimhadev, quoting from Nrsimha Puran, he answers to Prahlad Maharaj, how did he develop such a devotion to him? And Lord Nrsimhadev says, long, long ago, Prahlad Maharaj, you were born in a place called as Avanti, as the 5th and the youngest son to a very great Brahmana by the name of Vasu Sharma and Mata Sushila. They both together had 5 sons. They were very pious. The mother was very chaste. They were very devoted to me or to the Lord. However, among the 5 sons, the first 4 sons were very sadachari. They were very learned. They were panditas. But you, O Prahlad, you are the most disobedient or the distracted or naughty or a rowdy one, or the rowdy son, like that. He said, Lord Nrsimhadev said, you were so corrupted that you were, rather than being devoted to the Lord like everyone else in your family, you were devoted to a prostitute. You are a prostitute or a woman hunter. And one night, you and that prostitute got into an argument. And whole night you continued arguing, because of which you did not sleep and you did not eat. Coincidentally and fortunately, that night was the night of Nrsimha Chaturdashi. And unknowingly, you stayed awake and you fasted on that night, because of which both of you got spiritual credit. That prostitute went to heaven, became an apsara, and eventually after that life, she became a great devotee of mine. And you, Prahlad, because you were a woman hunter, you had the strong desire to take association of a woman, therefore you took a birth in the family of a demon, to the son of Hiranyakashipu. But because you had fasted unknowingly, you had remained whole night awake, therefore you developed devotion to me. And that's how in this life you went on to become a great devotee of mine. I remember at this point of time, somebody can ask a question, oh, what is the level of bhakti? It was not even done, there was no even thought of the Lord. So Lord Nrsimhadev in Nrsimha Puran, he himself addresses and he says, that is the glory of bhakti. Even if somebody unknowingly, unintentionally performs bhakti, neha bhikramo nashosti, pratyavayena vidyate, api alpasarmasya trayate mahato bhayat. The glory of bhakti is, even if somebody performs bhakti knowingly, unknowingly, doesn't matter, he will get the reward. And then this particular section concludes with Lord Narasimha saying, just imagine the glories of those devotees who practice bhakti knowingly, or who fast on the special occasions knowingly. You can take this story as a promo for Nirjala Ekadashi. For 3 days or 4 days from now is a Nirjala Ekadashi, to give us the inspiration why we should fast on this. So, now this can lead to another question. All right, we understand Prahlad Maharaj taking birth to Hiranyakashipu and how Prahlad Maharaj became a great devotee, and because of which he was fearless of the Lord. But the question is, how did Hiranyakashipu become fortunate? You know, when you read it, it says Shri Hiranyakashipu. When you read Bhagavatam, and one of the purpose write, why Hiranyakashipu has been addressed as Shri, the most fortunate one? Because he had the blessed opportunity to have Prahlad Maharaj as his son. Having a Prahlad Maharaj as his son, Hiranyakashipu in Bhagavatam has been addressed as Shri Hiranyakashipu Vacha. It's not mentioned for any other. I don't think so. It's mentioned Shri Kamsa Vacha. Probably not, right? Shri Hiranyakashipu Vacha. The question comes here is, how did Hiranyakashipu become so blessed? In fact, not only blessed, how come a demon can have a devoted son? So this is also mentioned in Narasimha Puran. Before that, I'd like to quote a quotation from Srila Prabhupada. He mentions about Garbhadan Samskar in 3rd Canto, 16th chapter, verse number 35, when Prabhupada writes, while conceiving a child, one's mind must be very sober and devotional. For this purpose, the Garbhadan Samskar is recommended in the scriptures. If the mind of the father is not sober, the semen discharge will not be very good. Thus, the living entity wrapped in the matter produced from the father and mother will be demoniac like Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So, question is, how did Hiranyakashipu, who was such a big demon, could begot a son like Prahlad Maharaj? This is quotation from Narasimha Puran, 41st chapter. A conversation between Markandeya Rishi and King Sahasranika. So the question is asked by the king to Markandeya Rishi, and Markandeya Rishi tells the history. He said that how Hiranyakashipu at one point of time, the history, he went to Kailash Parvat to perform rigorous tapasya. He told his wife Kayadu, I will not come back before 10,000 years. And he was away for a long time. However, because of his severe austerities, Brahmaji got worried. The Devatas are complaining to Brahma, he's doing a severe austerity, he's already so powerful, and then you're going to bless him, he'll become invincible. So Brahmaji became worried. Markandeya Rishi explains, one day, Narad Muniji was visiting his father Brahma. And when he visited Brahmaji, he saw Brahmaji little worried and anxiety, like any conditioned living entity, always have stress on his forehead. So Naradji, when he saw, he said, how come a devotee of Lord Narayan, that too you who's born from Lord Narayan, can be in stress and anxiety? My dear father, please let me know what gives you anxiety. At that point of time, Brahmaji explained the reason of anxiety. And then Narad Muni said, my dear Lord, Brahmaji, my dear father, do not worry. I, by the mercy of Lord Narayan, will remove your distress. I will go to Hiranyakashipu and I will distract Hiranyakashipu from his tapasya. So at that point of time, Narad Muni was visiting along with Parvat Muni to Brahmaji. So Narad Muni and Parvat Muni came to Kailash Parvat, where Hiranyakashipu was performing his tapasya. They took the form of a sparrow. They went and sat on the branch of a tree under which Hiranyakashipu was performing his tapasya. And there they sat on the branch. What could be the most agitating sound for a demon? Any guess? What could be the most agitating, disturbing sound for a demonic person? And they went and sat on the branch as two birds, and they began to chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Not once, not twice, but thrice. Finally, Hiranyakashipu, he could not tolerate this sound. He got agitated. He came out of his tapasya, from his meditation. He took a bow and arrow and began to aim from where the sound came. And immediately both the sparrows ran away. And now Hiranyakashipu was so angry. He tried to do his tapasya, but he couldn't do his tapasya. He got frustrated. And Markandeya Rishi says, he came back to his palace. When he returned back to his palace, he met 𝗣𝗂, and 𝗣𝗂 asked, "Oh, you went for a long trip, came back after a few days only? What happened, Swami? Why did you came back so early?" And that Hiranyakashipu at that point of time said, "Oh, I was doing so much meditation, and suddenly this must be some instrument or trick of the Devtas. These two birds came and they chanted." 𝗣𝗂 said, "What chanted?" They chanted, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare." Not once 𝗣𝗂, they chanted again. Thrice he repeated. And then Markandeya Rishi said, after like this chanting the holy names of the Lord, then 𝗣𝗂 and Hiranyakashipu united together. And because Hiranyakashipu, before uniting with 𝗣𝗂, he first of all heard the holy names from whom? The sparrows. No, not from the sparrows. From whom? Narad Muni. And then, before uniting with 𝗣𝗂, then he himself chanted the holy names of the Lord. Therefore, Prabhupada writes, I wrote the purport. 3rd canto, 20th chapter, verse number 28, Prabhupada writes, "Before begetting a child, one has to sanctify his perplexed mind. When the parents engage their minds on the lotus feet of the Lord, and in such a state the child is born, naturally good devotee children come." So Hiranyakashipu had no intention to remember the Lord. He heard from Narad Muni, and then just to tell the story to 𝗣𝗂, he chanted the holy names of the Lord, and then after that he united, because of which a powerful devoted son to the Lord was born as Prahlad Maharaj. So this set of verses also talking about, the palace was so huge. Why did Hiranyakashipu chose a pillar only? He could have brought in his throne also, na? If Lord was present there, Lord was sitting on the throne also. Why did he got up and, punched the pillar? So the text 12, just prior to the verse we were discussing, to the purport to that, Srila Vishnu Thakur writes, Hiranyakashipu speaking to Prahlad, "O Prahlad, you are most unfortunate because you have given up the wealth of the universe which is mine. Because you are my son. Obviously you will become the king, but you have discarded it." And then Hiranyakashipu said, "If the Lord exists, where is he, Prahlad?" And Vishnu Thakur says, Prahlad said, "My dear king, he is everywhere." "Oh, really? He's everywhere?" Then Hiranyakashipu asked, "Why is he not in the pillar?" And that was the time when Prahlad said, "Oh, yes, I see him in the pillar also." That's the reason when tomorrow you will read the verse, "Satyam vidhatum nija bhratya bhashitam." Bhratya, because my Bhratya son or servant said, therefore Lord appeared from that pillar. And that's how the Lord originated from that pillar. So the question comes, how Prahlad Maharaj, just like in the purport of the 13th verse, Prabhupada was talking about the atheists, how Prahlad Maharaj was able to see the Lord everywhere. And Srila Prabhupada, on this context, gives a very beautiful, as part of the lecture when he speaks about it. And he says how Prahlad Maharaj was able to see and why the atheist Hiranyakashipu was not able to see. In fact, Prabhupada begins with saying that it is a false propaganda that no one can see God. Prabhupada says, everyone can see God. In fact, everyone sees God. And then Prabhupada said, devotee sees God everywhere, while the non-devotee, I'll just read what Prabhupada said, while the non-devotee, he sees when the handles of the clock are over, in the form of Yamaraj or in the form of death, like that. So how does the devotee says, Preman jana charita bhakti vilochanena santa sadeva deshu vilokayanti. Prabhupada says, because as per the material senses are concerned, they are blunt. Why we say blunt? Because person is extremely proud of his senses and ability to see, perceive and whatnot, because of which he cannot see. But when he puts the ointment, this particular verse, Premanjana Churita, it refers to putting an ointment to the blunt eyes. And what is the ointment? Ointment of love. Because Prahlad Maharaj had put the ointment or the kajal of love in his eyes, because of which he was able to see. Therefore, Lord can be seen when we develop love for the Lord. But whereas the ordinary person, he cannot see. And then Prabhupada gives an example. Just like if somebody's eyes have got cataract, unless operated, it is not that the object does not exist. It is not that the pillar does not exist. It exists. But who cannot see? The individual. Why? Because his eyes have got cataract. The deficiency is within oneself, not that the object doesn't exist. Therefore, Prabhupada says, the Lord exists, but we cannot see because of the problem of cataract like this. And Prabhupada says, see, if you want to see the Lord, there has to be a condition. Just like if somebody wants to meet President Nixon, nobody can walk up to him. There requires to be a certain qualification. But the ordinary man is so proud, he would challenge, show me God. But he never asks, am I qualified to see the Lord? And then Prabhupada says, just like if somebody has to enter our temple, the person will have to take out his shoes. Just to enter the temple, there is a condition. Similarly, to see the Lord, there is a condition. What is the condition? Again, premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena shanta sadeva hridayeshu vilokyanti. And then Srila Prabhupada says, ointment is okay, but does the devotee see the Lord only few times in a day when he visits the temple? Prabhupada says, no. This verse says, sadaiva, 24/7. He sees the Lord everywhere, within the temple, outside the temple, within his heart. Like that, this is explained. So somebody may ask the question, how can somebody may see the Lord everywhere at all the time? The Srila Prabhupada gives a very beautiful analogy about this in one of his writings. He quotes Srila Rupa Goswami, Rupa Goswami says, just like when a woman has fallen in love with a lover, she may be engaged in the household chores, but even while doing her household duties, she's always thinking of the lover. Why? She loves the person. Similarly, when we fall in love with the Lord, similarly, we will be also able to see the Lord, just like Prahlad Maharaj was able to see the Lord. So that's the idea about it. And this set of verses are talking about how cruel Hiranyakashipu is. Hiranyakashipu he took out the sword, he wanted to kill Prahlad Maharaj. In one of the places, Prabhupada explains, that's the difference between atheism and theism. When you don't have God consciousness, person becomes so cruel and so hard-hearted. 5-year-old innocent child. Hiranyakashipu is afraid of him and he wants to butcher that innocent child. But look what God consciousness does to your consciousness. 5-year-old innocent child Prahlad Maharaj was so much brutalized, so much tormented. You will read that in the 9th chapter. What did he pray to Narasimhadev? My dear Lord, kindly excuse my father for what he has done. And that's how those who are God-conscious people, they're highly compassionate and they're highly forgiving. So what can we learn from Prahlad Maharaj? Because kind of coming to the conclusion of this. Prabhupada says there are two things in Sanskrit. One is called as Anukaran and second is called as Anusmaran. Do not try to imitate Prahlad Maharaj. Just like Prahlad Maharaj was put in the boiling hot pot, if you think if I fall down then I will be great, no, you'll fall down from your position. That is called as Anukaran. You should do Anusaran. You should follow. Follow what? What does Prahlad Maharaj teaches? And Srila Prabhupada writes, Prahlad Maharaj teaches, regardless of how difficult life, how difficult the situations in one's life may become, how much ever the tribulations may be there in one's life, like Prahlad Maharaj never forgot the Lord, always remember the Lord. Prabhupada says that should be our Anusaran from the life of Prahlad Maharaj. We should always remember and take shelter of the Lord, regardless of how difficult and complicated the life may happen, and that is always going to happen without a doubt about it. And to conclude, Lord Narasimhadev, of course Lord Narasimhadev will appear tomorrow or day after tomorrow like that. Why do devotees of the Lord, why do Gaudiya Vaishnavas worship Lord Narasimhadev? We have one dedicated temple in Mayapur, but that's not only the temple of Narasimhadev, we have Shri Radha Madhav, Ashasaki and Panchatattva. Well, ISKCON has one dedicated temple and in fact a fully dedicated community only for serving Narasimhadev. And that is the first temple of Lord Narasimhadev in ISKCON. That's in Germany, Simhachalam. The whole community, every service is only around Lord Narasimhadev. The program there doesn't happen the way we have a program. We do have the Mangalati prayers, but the Darshanati is not with Govinda Madi Purusham. There are different Narasimha Stutis which are offered. So why or and why in why in what is the reason in Gaudiya Math we approach Lord Nrsimhadev? And of course we all understand Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared here to give us Braj Bhakti, worship of Sri Radha Krishna, and therefore we are always recommended to worship Sri Radha Krishna. We don't worship so many different incarnations of the Lord. You know why? Because Vaivasaya Atmika Buddhir Eka Kurunandana. Whichever destination you want to go, you want to worship that Ishta. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Guru Parampara and Srila Prabhupada taught us about Raj Bhakti. Our goal is to worship Sri Radha Krishna. Our goal is to go to Vrindavan. Then why do we have Nrsimhadev's worship? I'm quoting from His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. He had once spoken about this. He gave 4 reasons why we worship Lord Nrsimhadev. One of the reasons we worship Nrsimhadev, Srila Prabhupada introduced after the Kirtan in the evening and the morning, is for protection. But Maharaj says it is not for the protection of the body. A devotee never cares for the protection of the physical elements. Why do devotees worship the Lord? What do devotees actually praise for protection? Maharaj says the devotee prays to the Lord for the protection of their consciousness. My dear Nrsimhadev, may I never fall down in my practice of Krishna consciousness. Reason number 2, as Rupa Goswami talks about the 9 limbs of bhakti, Adau Shraddha Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivriti. Anartha Nivriti. Maharaj mentions, we pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to overcome anarthas, so that we can perform pure bhakti. The purpose we worship, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to worship Nrsimhadev. His disciples used to worship. We worship. Srila Prabhupada introduced. Why do Vaishnavas worship Lord Nrsimhadev? To pray to the Lord to overcome anarthas. Only by His mercy we can overcome like that. And the third reason, I'm just summarizing this, there are more details to it. And the third reason, Maharaj mentions, Prahlad is the emblem of Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Shuddha Bhakti. Whereas Hiranyakashipu represents somebody who disturbs the pure bhakti. Whereas Chanda and Amarka represents Karma Kandis, and Devatas are Sakama Bhakta. Lord appeared and He discarded everything. Karma Kandis, Sakama Bhaktas, and those who trouble the pure devotees of the Lord. However, Lord Nrsimhadev, He could not be satisfied by anyone. Only Prahlad Maharaj could satisfy. And therefore Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Nrsimhadev lifted Prahlad Maharaj, put on his lap, and he acted in the Vasalya Ras, and he smelled the forehead or the head of Prahlad Maharaj. Because Prahlad represents that devotion which can't be or which isn't contaminated with karma or jnana. That is why Lord Nrsimhadev was happy with Prahlad. So what can only please the Lord is pure bhakti. So we pray to Nrsimhadev, please grant me, please bless me with the pure bhakti. And the 4th reason why Vaishnavas worship Lord Nrsimhadev. So Lord Nrsimhadev's incarnation is said to be the manifestation of Krishna's anger. That's very interesting. Why it is said like this? In fact, Varadev was angry, isn't it? When Hiranyaksha insulted. But when Rupa Goswami, he quotes Padma Puran, I'm skipping the verse just for the sake of time. When he makes his point, he says Lord Krishna's anger is represented in the form of Nrsimhadev, but not Varadev. Because there is a huge difference between the anger of Varadev and anger of Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Varadev got angry because Hiranyaksha insulted him. Varadev was angry because he felt insulted. But Hiranyakashipu was angry because Prahlad Maharaj was insulted. So Rupa Goswami says, which Maharaj was quoting, he said, when it is said Lord Nrsimhadev represents Krishna's anger, it is the anger shown by Krishna when a person commits Vaishnava Aparadh. When somebody commits Vaishnava Aparadh, Lord Krishna becomes angry like Nrsimhadev, as Lord became angry at Hiranyakashipu. Therefore, we should worship Lord Nrsimhadev to ask for His blessing to protect us from committing Vaishnava Aparadh. So these are some of the thoughts, and just one last point to summarize this whole discussion. Nrsimha Rama Krishneshu Shadgunyam Paripuritam Paravashtastu te tuteshtasya Deepad Utpanna Deepavat. This is from Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Rupa Goswami speaking. What is quoting from Padma Purana. So here, to quickly summarize this verse and conclude the topic for today. Lord have unlimited incarnations, but three forms are considered extremely special, which Rupa Goswami is talking about here. Nasimha Rama Krishneshu. Lord Nasimha, then Lord Ram, and then Lord Krishna. These are the most unique form among all. We understand Ram, we understand Krishna. Krishna is Purna Purushottam. Okay. Why Nasimha has been tied along with Rama and Krishna? Any thoughts about it? Why Narasimha Dev is considered so special, almost along with Rama and Krishna? This particular quality is not exhibited by any other incarnation. What is that one quality? Bhakta Vassala. Because all three of them exhibits the quality of Bhakta Vassala. And that will be the verse for tomorrow. Why did Lord Narasimha appear? Because Nichabhratya Bhashitam. Same Lord Shri Krishna became the charity of Arjuna. Lord Ram, he performed the final rites for Jatayu. He ate the bear of Shabri, etc., etc. That's how Lord Narasimha Dev is very, very important for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. He represents the Bhakta Vassala quality, and I gave you 4 reasons. We discussed the 4 reasons why Gaudiya Vaishnava worships the Lord. With that, I'll pause our discussion for today here. Thank you all for your kind attention. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Hare Krishna. Any questions or any comments? I guess we have 4 minutes to conclude. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. You told about Simhanchala in Germany. So why is like Prabhupada established it and what only Narsingh Dev is there? Any reason for that?
In Germany, back in those days when Srila Prabhupada was present, Germany was quite a lot under the influence of communism. And because of which the devotees there were getting a lot of troubles and disturbances and practicing Krishna consciousness. So in those years, HareKrishna Maharaj, I wrote a letter to Prabhupada. Can we install Narasimha Dev? Because you said Narasimha Dev protects Vaishnavas so that we can practice bhakti. There's a very famous letter where Prabhupada wrote, and Prabhupada said, yes, you can install, but you have to build a separate temple for Lord Narasimha Dev. So like that it happened, but temple wasn't installed until 1977. And it was in 1980s, finally, the devotees decided. And in fact, actually they didn't have, and Prabhupada said, you have to have a temple. To have a temple, you have to have your own place. So until 1980, we didn't have any of our own place in Germany. It was back in 1981 or late 80s, when the devotees purchased the farm. And that's how the whole thing started. Remembering the instruction of Srila Prabhupada, then they decided to install Lord Narasimha Dev. And this deity of Lord Narasimha Dev is the most unique deity in the whole creation precisely. Because in this deity of Lord Narasimha Dev, generally in the form of Lord Narasimha Dev, you have Mother Lakshmi sitting on the lap. Somehow in this deity, Prahlad Maharaj is sitting on the lap. And there was a little bit of some here and there miscommunication or whatnot, whatever is the history of it. So there's a deity where Lord Narasimha Dev is smiling. Little bit of his head is tilted, and Prahlad Maharaj is sitting on the lap and is a blessed form. And that's how the deity got installed, I believe 82, 83. That's the first Narasimha Dev deity of ISKCON. 86 was in Mayapur, if I'm correct, like that. And that's a little history of Lord Narasimha Dev. And when Lord Narasimha Dev came there, and I just gave you the whole history of how Gaudiya Vaishnava approaches Lord Narasimha Dev, what's the mood, why do we worship Lord Narasimha Dev, is one of the most vibrant community. Their deity worship, their love for Narasimha Dev is so much visible, the way they worship the deities, beautiful shringar and everything. So yeah, that's how Lord Narasimha Dev came there. Hare Krishna. Yeah, the last comment or question here.
You were reading in the first line of the purport, in which Prabhupada was mentioning that demons, they always have a doubt that about devotees' faith in God. So after so much atheistic educational background and hearing so many things, and even after coming to devotional life and hearing repeatedly about devotees and their faith in the Lord, still in the background of the mind that faith doesn't come actually. We are still in the same old position, and it's like bhakti, we are just going on in bhakti. I'm speaking about myself personally, but such faith, or at least some extent of faith, doesn't appear to come. Initially we get some, but later after a few years again the same old thing comes. So should we just keep on performing our bhakti and wait patiently?
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a reason why we have this experience. We grow in bhakti because of sat sangha. Our faith comes because of good association. Any doubt, particularly for those who have been practicing devotional life for years together, and now they begin to suddenly have doubts, etc. in their mind, it is only because of asat sangha. Somehow they have gone into some bad association. And every one of us, it's a duty for each one of us to introspect when things happen like this. How am I taking bad association? It could be even through the forum of counseling. You're hearing too much their anarthas. And then you're contemplating on the anarthas of your student who you actually went for at the first place to help them, to transform them, but you're failing to realize that you're getting transformed by the anarthas. So that could be one asasanga like that. Maybe social media asasanga, sitting in the lab watching YouTube for a long time. Because after Operation Sindoor, it is important to know what India does next. So have to be updated. Mind tricks, why not? It could be that. So it's only asasanga. There is no other reason for that, why faith will begin to shake or dwindle, or why the doubt will come. And that's how the acharyas explain. That's the only reason they say. So if anything like this happens in anyone's life, they need to pause, reflect, and first thing they need to do is take association of senior Vaishnavas, discuss their challenge, and with their guidance move forward. There are problems in life, there are situations in our life which will come across which cannot be resolved by us. Vyasa could not resolve his despondency. Arjuna couldn't made his mind to fight or not. Yudhishthira Maharaj couldn't made up his mind to rule or not. If these people couldn't solve certain situation in life, we all will come across situations. So it's always good to have, a good, healthy relationship with certain seniors who really cares for us, and we act appropriately in that relationship. So when such situation which shakes up our faith or whatever, and we all gonna go through. But you can hear His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj series of lectures called as crisis of faith. Everyone would have, to this degree, to that degree. Depends on our asasang, which we take eventually, or we get exposed to. At that point in time, senior association is a benediction or blessing for us to protect us. All right? And in India, there is no scarcity of it. We are already so blessed and so fortunate. There's so much Sangha, so much Sangha. If you want to understand or really want to appreciate association, step outside of India, go to the West. Then we realize how fortunate we are. We have abundance of association. Abundance. So much abundance, at times we take it for granted. And the West, where they don't have anything, they hanker so much. They hanker so much. And just my experience, even while in those days when I was living in America or even recent experience, there's so much value Sangha when they get Sangha. Because they're hankering for it. I can tell you, I would have given dozens and dozens of Bhagavatam classes during this trip. After every class, there used to be more than 30 to 45 minutes question answer. It was surprising for me. Why? Because they're so hankering for it. After every Bhagavatam class. It doesn't matter if you have 5 students, you have 50 students. I wrote about it to Radhishab. I said, Puji, this is what it is going on. See what's happening here. Like that. So they hanker for that. So yeah, that's the whole idea. All right? Time is up now. It's time for prasadam. I want to add on a blessed note and not to receive curses for extending that time. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah. Thank you all for your kind attention. Hare Krishna.